Welcome back to tapkinghacked.info. This is the tutorial for putting together hack number 1, which is your Tap King CO2 hack, where you can only use it for homebrew after that. Okay, so first thing we're going to do, obviously we've drilled our hole, so that's here now. For plumber's tape. Don't be shy. Remember this, the butt section of this is going to be wedged in the plastic. So the more you put in here, the better it will be. And this also gives you the flexibility to spin the unit on the head when you want to take your bulbs on and off, which is really handy. And also if you want to put the unit in different situations, it's nice to be able to move it. So the first thing we're going to do is fit this in from here. So before it was quite easy to do by hand. Obviously with the thread tape it gets a little bit harder, so grab your 7/16 spanner and just tighten that all the way on. It won't actually bite till you get the regulator on the other side. Okay. Alright, so then you're going to grab your regulator. That's as it comes. You want to grab your spanner, undo this, take that off. We don't need that. The next thing we're going to do is we're just going to screw this onto here. Now you can even, just to make sure you get a great seal, in case you've stripped any off as you brought it through the plastic, just stick another couple of loops of this on here. Alright, and now just simply grab your regulator and screw it on. Grabbing your spanner, hold that in place and screw it in until it's really firm. Now, as I said, you want to be able to still move this a little bit. That's why we've put plenty of tape in there. That way when it's on, you can sit it back nice and flush like that when it's in the fridge. And then in order to be able to put the bottles on easily, you can simply turn that away, and as you can see then it gives you the clearance to be able to put the bottles on easily and quickly. Okay, so that's that part done. The next step is for you guys to grab your little 1.5 centimetre or 1.75 centimetre piece of the 3mm hose and simply force that onto the little flange there. Okay, now the harder you can get this on here, the better. This will be actually, by the way this is designed, this is forced together. You don't actually need grease on this end because you really want this to pinch in. So once you've got that pushed on, and then you've pushed on your 4.8 centimetre beer line or CO2 line, or whatever you want to call it, beer plumbing hose, you just want to come back here and just reassemble this the way it was. So that's just going to slide in the hole. And then this hose fits ever so snugly into that gap there. Okay. The next step is to grab your head. Now you remember from earlier in the video series, you might have this lying around somewhere now. Remember to put this on, because when you fit this, it actually locks your tap back in place. Okay, so sit that in there. Now pop that on. Now look, you can leave this off. I personally put it on. Main reason, it just keeps everything nice and flush. This still marries up with the lug at the top of the bottle. So in my mind, it just keeps that whole connection area nice and firm and stops any sloppiness working its way in. Let me try that again. So I'm going to stick that through there. Alright, there we go. So when you get 2 of your screws now, grab your pliers. You can try and drop them in there by hand. It's a pain in the ass, even with a pair of pliers. I found the pliers make it a little bit easier. Okay. See if we can't stand this screw up here. No. Alright, bear with me one sec, guys. And I'm getting fumbly. Alright, there we go. So, just get that to sit in nice and flush. And once it's in, simply screw it back up. Okay. Now, you remember I said try and keep all this together. What I have done with mine is not only does it make it easier if you're ever pulling it apart again, but I put a bit of grease in here because these are moving parts. I'd like to think this is going to last me a while. The other advantage is once you put a bit of grease onto these connectors, it stops them falling off while you're trying to fit it, which is another advantage. You just pop a bit of grease in there, stick the parts on, and then the same here. And again, it just tends to make those stay in place a little bit while you're putting this back together. So you now want to have it this way around. This is the bottom down here, so we want to be able to have this over here. Now we're going to let these roll forward and see if I can't twist this. You'll remember from where you pulled it apart, there's the rails here. That's where the white little plastic bearings go into. So we're going to slide those in first. Once it gets to the kind of the center, just roll these back over, the opposite of what we did when we pulled it apart. Trying to get rid of any grease. Okay, and we're going to just bring that down, and that's now ready to roll. So we'll grab our base now. Alright, again, this is the one I pulled apart. You can see I put grease on here. These are all moving rails. It's food grade grease. You can't go wrong. If there's moving parts in anything, a bit of grease is going to make it last longer than if there's no grease at all. So you can grease up those rails there. It's up to you. Now again, you'll remember from the assembly video that these little lugs here have to fit down in this groove. So again, it's a bit of fiddling. There's no need to manhandle it. Put this down first, fold that flap in, put this end down, and then just start wiggling it until you get that lip under, and then it will just drop down into place. Okay? Now you can see this bit of hose that we fitted, that's just hanging out of here now. Alright. The next step is to pop a little bit of grease in there. There's two reasons for this. A, it makes this last bit of the assembly a lot easier. Two, because we're twisting this mechanism, we're actually twisting the brass connector. So it's going to be twisting inside this pipe. So to save wearing and losing your seal, the grease in there not only allows you to push it in easily, but it also, again, stops friction when you're turning this during use, and it'll stop you from getting leaks further down the track. Now this is going to be the tricky bit to show you in the video. I'm going to do the best I can. Just stand up here. Now, this is just sitting in here, so I'll just try and stand it on its head. Adjust the light a little bit so you can really see as I do this. Okay. Now what you're going to do is, if you remember, this just sat on there before. What we've got to do is marry up the tip of this with obviously the valve out here. So if you just get that in there first, that's probably the best you're going to be able to see it. But just get that tip in there, and then what you're going to do is then pull it down so that it's straight, and you can see it just starting to go in there now. And it's going further. Line that up, and that's basically in. Now just sit it down. Once you've got that first bit in, just lay it over. Try and get your flanges lined up like that. Once you can see everything is flush all the way around, keeping a little bit of pressure on it, just turn it over, grab your screws, drop them in. So as soon as I finish this, what I'll do is I will just take the camera off the stand and see how good a shot we can get inside there, just to give you some clarity. So this is a bloody easy hack, alright? There's just no mucking around. It doesn't take long. For a while I actually just had two head units. I had one for my homebrew. This is the first hack that I did, and I just bought a second head unit for the store-bought ones at that point in time. I'll just move this back out of the road. Okay. Now, if I bring this forward again and this forward again here, I think you guys are going to get a great view of this. I'll just take this off the stand and get that light back for a second. You can actually see how once that's lined up with the grease, it just pushes straight in. You could probably put more hose on that. I don't think it needs any more than 2 flanges. And when I was originally doing the prototype, I didn't use grease, so I found it very difficult trying to do the housing, trying to do